Welcome to a special rare occasion, Sabbath special rock and roll double trouble. It is the third day of that Scorpio, and gonna work out a little bit. For the first time, I will be watching a baseball. It's not a full game, but it's what's available here. Let me show you what I'm gonna be watching. This is what I'm gonna be watching here. It's posted just a few minutes ago, an hour ago already. Dodgers, a J World Series game. Number 2, first pitch. So I don't know much about baseball. I do know that it's that Canada. Get that Canada tatted up so I don't need to show the flag. But always, as somebody was born in the United States 3 times post 70-76, androgynous pansexual aspie artist athlete, is also a mystic, I believe in reincarnations, and was born several times, 3 times post 70-76 in the USA, once as a woman, twice as a man, served in the United States Army. This workout training, exercising on the Sabbath, is dedicated to the firefighters, the plumbers, the bakers, the electricians, the nurses, the doctors, those nurses finishing their 12-hour shift now. And please call it a hard billionaires. And Halloween is next Friday, and for years I've been putting out a call for the reduction of the candies before Halloween, just before. If I would have been a millionaire, I would have hired some people, and starting October 1st, and for a few weeks to go around the neighborhood and to credit to see if anybody wants to put some decorations for Halloween, because I love Halloween, and would have gone like $44 Canadian, and part of it, 40%, would have been budgeting for decorations and the rest for candies for the children, so that's what I would have been done. But I'm just financially stressed today, but got those trillions of kisses corrected from the goddess, and I was a bit moody, but I feel much better. I gotta be grateful, Thankful for that. My rent's paid, electricity bill's paid my Netflix, so gonna watch some Umbrella Academy after workout, training, exercise later on. If not next weekend, if not tomorrow, gotta watch season 3 and 4. And for the first time, I'm actually watching baseball. I watched some baseball highlights, but I never actually watched ever. Well, my memory, of course, in the past 11 years and a half, So in the past 11 years and a half, I could say I never watched, I don't know, as an adolescent or in early childhood, but in the past 11 years and a half, more than 11 years and a half, I never watched what's called the first pitch in baseball. I know that the Blue Jays are leading the series over Los Angeles, so this is game 2 tonight, as the Habs are also playing, but I can't get them to see, so I'm going to watch those highlights. And we're going to be working out, training, exercising with this brick. Probably got about 11 kilos, maybe 22 pounds, 25 pounds, between 7 kilos and 11 kilos, It's got a real rock and roll, so just going to drill some of that upper body, because all week we did that marching, so it's just going to be freestyling with it from the left, from the right. But since it's a brick, I will keep it in this, I keep it wrapped in this for protection, because if it falls on the floor, I don't want it to damage the floor in any way whatsoever. So we could actually weigh it. Let's weigh it to see exactly with this, how much it has. Gonna weigh it exactly, and independent artist athlete here, rock and roll with Asperger's, so this transcript might be a bit neurodivergent, maybe a lot, maybe partially, maybe fully part of the neurodivergent community. If you don't know what Asperger's is, suppose fellow Aspies, because in our community unemployment is very high. I was reading the unemployment, because I do geopolitics 24/7 analysis and theorizing thereof, and dancing is my favorite sport. You already know that. Dancing is my favorite dancing is my favorite sport. And get that priestess, HNNH. Keep those trillions of kisses from the goddess, Adrian Hannah Dragon, right here, laying the foundations for the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, always for the 10, the 50, and the 3, always for the North American Collective. And we gotta unite tough times. And myself, I've struggled, suffered right here, and being on my 4th rebirth in this past 11 years and a half, Since I moved here, I came with nothing. I gotta give a shout out to my anonymous friend. She got me this great hoodie. I don't know how much it costs, maybe $44 US or Canadian, but I'm auctioning for $1 million. Gonna give her half, or more than $1 million to give half for that, maybe afford a house, and a house for me, a house for her, somewhere, neighbors across the street or something like that. But here I am, always gotta be that grateful, thankful. It's something what we have, and I'm gonna check the salaries, but first we're gonna weigh it, weigh the brick. You gotta weigh the brick. And we're gonna go weigh the brick with this, so we're gonna see how much it is, you know, how much it is, weight wise. I'm assuming it's between 7 and 10 kilos, so I'm gonna show you proof here. I'm gonna watch it here, see, let's see. So it says 0 kilos, so now we're gonna put it on, so let's see. Yeah, it's actually, like I said, 5, 6, 7 and something. See, 7 and something. All right, see, 7 and almost close to 8. So that's about 16 pounds, right? Yeah, that's what it is. Let's take it off. See, this is in kilos though. So this is in kilos. So when you put it on, see, that's what it is. Approximation, I guess. See, let's put it one more time. Adjust it. That's it. So that's what we got. About 7 kilos, a little bit more, maybe around 7. That's about 7 kilos, is about 16.6 pounds, right? So it's not a super heavy one, but it's enough to get that sweat, the upper body, you know. I've been on the fitness journey since I got out of my depression in 2017. I was depressed and suicidal for a few years. Gonna put this back. Put this back right here. Get that freeze down, you know. And get that freestyle right here. Gotta get that freestyle, and we're gonna be. Oh, fell back. It doesn't want to stay. So I've lost between 80 and 93 pounds, you know. Gonna take this hat off because I don't want it to. I'm gonna take this shirt off as well. I don't want to get too sweaty because this is a hoodie, and gotta put it right here on the side, you know. Auctioning it, see? It's got that space exploration. I gotta give a shout out to my anonymous friend again for giving it to me. It has the dates for lunar exploration, and I gotta salute the NASA for putting one with the name of the goddess finally, you know. Took some decades, took more than 50 years, about 60 years to finally name an exploration after a goddess, because always named after a god, deities, and you know, a goddess it. Rainbow dragon is the priestess or the goddess, priestess of the empires that was in a past life, the priestess. Pythia, who orated the great Retria to Lycurgus, and many past lives, many incarnations, gonna fly high. For the nurses finishing their 12-hour shift. A lot of strikes going on, you know. I'm a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. Today's the Sabbath until tomorrow's sunset, so I don't want to discuss my theories over much. You can get acquainted with my hundreds of videos of workout and philosophies, and as I'm a philosopher, an artist, athlete, and mystic, part of the LGBTQ community, always putting it on for my fellow neurodivergents and members of the LGBTQ community, you know. And in my community, unemployment is very high, you know. For Aspies is 80%, even sometimes more than 80%, you know, compared to you, the 99%. And we always got to build those bridges, the small bridges, medium-sized bridges, large or extra large bridges, because our brains are different. We see the world differently, and some things we just don't get, and we have to always constantly build bridges, because there might be misunderstandings in the way we communicate and we pronounce ourselves. So sometimes it takes more patience and understanding to, in a less superficial manner, you know. With Aspies is more difficult to, it requires a lot of patience, a lot of understanding as well, patience and understanding those dynamics, of course, categorizing in all the levels that we lack certain skills, you know, or have less abilities in socializing. Is socializing norms and social norms can become more difficult. But I gotta give a shout out again to my anonymous friend, gifted me 2 books on autism called on autism specifically, with chapters on Asperger's, and Asperger's is one with HFA, high functioning autism, basically is one and the same now. And one book specifically was loaned from a library 4 times. It's called Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. So I call on all willingly to consult it if you're an Aspie, and it suddenly opened my eyes to my own vulnerabilities and how it helped me in the past years to get better at building bridges with you, the neurotypicals, because you're the 99% of the population, and us, we're less than 1%. There's not a lot of people with Asperger's in the world, and so we have to always build those bridges of understanding, and sometimes it requires patience, and we certainly have our struggles, but we can excel in certain things. We can really excel. And I'm just going to be saying that I'm going to be hydrating with tea from, it's actually a company from Ukraine, but the tea is from Kenya. So I got double, that white and red, and you know, gotta get that North American Collectif, always for Canada, United States, always for the United States and Canada, for the 63, as we're gonna fuse My Way, the Dream, the Dancing Goddess of the Dragon Kingdom via Public-Private Partnership. Gonna sip a little bit. It's tea, it's a bit hot, so gonna drink from both. Rock and roll it with it. I was a bit moody earlier, but now I feel much better. I was still, you know, there's lots of stress. I've been in lots of stress and scars, you know. But regular fitness is super good for the body. Always when I get a little bit of sweat, I always feel much better. That's why for years and years and years, if you check my past videos, well, you got to keep in mind that, I guess, since COVID, because I died right here in this room of St. Temple in 2020, February, March of COVID, you know, I thought I was going to die. So I thought I was going to die of COVID, and I didn't die, I survived, and nothing that I will to go back to. You know, some habits which I formed over the past year, such as regular physical exercise, incorporating, because dancing is my favorite sport, and you know, as Aspies, people with Asperger's, we have special interests, you know, and my holy trinity of special interests is sports and fitness, while retaining, and my favorite sport is dancing. You know, I can dance for hours, and I get that priestess, because I am also the priestess of the goddess of our empire. So is God bless, and goddess, GODDSS, kiss, you know, God bless and goddess kiss. You gotta get that God and the goddess together, and God bless and goddess kiss, you know. Rock and roll for the forgotten goddess, the temple which I will to build, you know. So this is a special edition calling for all willingly loving, pledge your allegiance, legions, or friends with benefits only if you're on that 18 plus, you know. Androgynous, pansexual, part of the LGBTQ community. I'm pretty sure there's plenty in the MLB, in the Major League Baseball, maybe even in the Blue Jays, who are part of the LGBTQ community, LA Dodgers, but they're in the closet, you know. Sometimes it's the financial pressures, you know, exerted on certain situations which can be more difficult in that sense. So, you know, but nonetheless, gonna work out with this 16 pounds brick, and gotta get it on the go for that, and gotta get that LLV, you know, to get it on the dynamics, and gotta get it for the left, for the right, and in the circumferential permitting aspects where we are now to be, of course, on the left and in the right and in the middle. Sometimes we gotta get, of course, for that love where we are now, because love is important, and somebody gotta make love tonight, you know. It's our innocence, and the children, the youth are innocent, eh? And I see youth across Canada now, across North America, you know, maybe having fun innocently, you know, and that's what's important, you know. More important, you know, in life and liberty and a little bit of justice if we can, you know, and charity as well. Financially, I'm stressed, so I can do minimal charity, but always love to volunteer, and acts of goodness and kindness, super important. And you know, I have great hope for today and for tomorrow. So I live for today, you know, live for today, but live for today, and with dreams for tomorrow. You know, that's something which we have to do now, and we have to be reverberating, of course, in the relationships where we are now, to be on the side of the, on the sidelines of watching this LA Dodgers and first pitch, it's called. So to be honest, you know, I'm really gonna be honest, I'm much about baseball, I don't know. I know a bit about innings and scoring, you know, and home runs and all that, and strikeouts, you know, but my knowledge is mostly outside of dancing. it's pretty much gridiron, you know. You get that football drill, hot, 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 hot. You know, hot on gridiron and hockey. And then baseball is basketball after, so it's first gridiron. Well, dancing is first, then it's gridiron, then it's like, well, gridiron and boxing are both kind of on the second place, both together there. Third place is kind of hockey, then it's kind of like basketball, then it's like other sports, and baseball is I like all sorts of sports and fitness, but I'm just watching because for the first time in many decades, the Dodgers are facing the team from Canada, Toronto Blue Jays. So it's a Canadian team that might win the World Series. So that's why a lot of people here in Canada are excited. We won the first game, and you know, gotta watch that, and gotta be, of course, on the left and on the right and in the middle to get a little bit of information now about all the relative askings of the questions pertaining to the dynamics of the salaries. You know, I was just looking at the salaries, just gonna take a look at the salaries there, and then we're gonna see oh no, that's not it. What is it for the Blue Jays? Yeah, for the Blue Jays here. And of course, you know, mathematics is an aspect. Mathematics is always something that it's a constant with my calculations, paradoxically. Although I had many jobs myself, I had many employments, I just tend to lose them. Because Aspies, you know, we're different, and sometimes people can tell right away in the workplace after 4 minutes, 4 hours, 4 days, or that we are different. And the high unemployment for Aspies, because there's a lot of misunderstandings what Asperger's is. It's not a disease, and it's just a neurodivergence. We perceive the world differently, and we process information differently. But now that I look, of course, it's the owners, right, of the MLB, NFL, NHL, and NBA, the four sports leagues, and please give some finance, some Privee, professional women's hockey league, some women's sports, eh? Please finance more women's sports and help build the Forgotten Goddess Temple on the Canadian-US border, the biggest ever coliseum ever built. We gotta get, of course, all that dynamics what we got now. But you see these 6 right here: Vladimir Guerrero Jr., George Springer, Kevin Gossman, Chris Basis, Jose Barrios, and Publik. So, wow, on an annual basis. So that's just annual, right? So all those 6 earn more than 15 million, see? A year. All those 6 combined is like 100 something million. If you do the math, let's take 20 million plus 20 plus 20, that's plus 20, that's 80. Then we got 80 plus 10 plus 1, that's 100 million already. Then we got the 8 and the 4, that's 12, plus the 3, right? That's 15, 17, and then with the 9, you know, that's 26. And then with the 7, that's 3, right? With the 7, right? That's 4, so 34. So it's more than 134 million, right? All these combined is just 130 million, just 6. So give 10%, you know. Like, don't be so selfish, and please give some tickets to the public workers, eh? To the public workers, you know. Yes, to the public workers, eh? To the public workers who gotta get it on the go, eh? To the public workers getting on the go. And the farmers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, all those who gotta get it on the go, eh? The firefighters, the butchers, give them some shekels, you know. Give them some tickets, you know. MLB. Well, MLB season finishing now, but NHL season just started with a few games. Savs are playing tonight, and NFL, NBA, you know, National Basketball Association, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, and NFL. That's what we got on the go, of course. Forget it on the left and on the right and in the middle and in the congregation, of course, to be on the left, and of course all those are in relationships where we are now to give a little bit of charity. Go incognito, you know, go incognito, put a hoodie up and go give some charity. Millionaires, all the sports players of the NFL, NHL, MLB, that's my message. You know, as a mystic, spiritual guide, spiritual teaching student who's not perfect. I got my own flaws, and got my own vices. I don't make pretense to be perfect. I have my own flaws and scars and survived trauma, as many have, but I really love rehabilitation. You know, when you see the rehabilitation on the go, and that's what it is for the left and for the right, and for those millionaires, of course, to get it on the go, you know, to give it on the left and on the right, to get a little bit on that butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, and the electricians, to be now, of course, on the nurses would finish a 12-hour shift, nurses with 12-hour shift, and nurses, think about the nurses, Mr. Millionaires, billionaires, you get 20-something million a year. Cleaning ladies, cleaning workers, shoveling some shit, Y'all good. You don't need another house. You got 4. You got 40. You got 40, 40 houses. Get Mr. Otani got 700 million. Yeah. $700 million, Contract, Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just be charitable, Be charitable, don't be so selfish. I wouldn't be so selfless either, Gotta be... I don't pretend to be totally selfless either. I like wafers, and I would really love to afford massage therapy sessions, Just afford massage therapy sessions. That's what I've been craving, but I can take a bath. I got a bathtub here where I used to live. I used to live in a very small underground basement, and dungeons, of course, to be left and right, Hey, hey, hey. Hey. Electricians, plumbers, bakers, construction workers, Public workers who build the highways, the aqueducts. Those who pick up the garbage every Monday. They're athletes also. Give them some tickets as well. That would be nice, if I could see them giving some tickets, That would be nice. That would be nice, Well, because I calculate, and the proportionality of the salary sometimes just for a year, right? You saw there 6. Just those 6 together were 134 million. So every one of them was more than 15 million a year. So 10% you can give 1 million, to charity, just charity. 10%. That's why I call for the North American Collective to establish a 10% plateau of interest, no higher, because some people pay 15, 17, 18, 20% interest, So that's very problematic. And interest is nowadays financially stressed, many of us. I had many jobs myself. I just lost them because I'm different, So this difference can cause some friction, some misunderstandings, some mislabelings, It's not all about the money, Sometimes it's not all about the money. Some love, some charity, And I know people love baseball, and that's fine, but but it's not just the players, actually, it's the owners. Players are millionaires, usually multi millionaires, and the owners are mostly billionaires, So that's something which it is. And now, I'm gonna think about the truckers now on the road, The firefighters, the bakers, butchers, truckers, and those nurses, waiting to finish their 12-hour shift after an 11-hour day. So what am I moody for, Paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, and paid my Netflix, and paid my phone bill. The 4 bills are paid, and I'm good until, well, next Saturday is November 1st, so starts over with the bills, and I'm going to have to survive again on $870 Canadian, which is basically paying my rent, and then that's rock and roll with that. But I got trains of rock and roll, and got those left or right and in the middle, and of course on the side with that, and of course trajectory to us to be, to get it on the love, and of course in the middle to get it on the side of the things, Well, gotta get it on the drill. Don't be so selfish, you know? Don't be so selfish. Garbage collectors. Huh? Yeah, there's Shohei Otani. Otani was awarded a contract, you know? $10 years, $700 million. You can give some charity. So he's playing for the Dodgers. One of the biggest ever, eh? I know, sorry, 70 million. But of course, there's also the owners, don't you forget. Owners of, let's see, owners of LA Dodgers. Give some charity, please. It would have been nice for the reduction of the, just for helping reduce the cost of the Halloween. That's what I would have loved. If I would have been a millionaire, I'd have hired people, billionaire or millionaire, would have hired people to just go and give, not just candy, but across the neighborhoods, you know. 7.3 billion. A billion is 1,000 million, eh? It's not 100. So that's 7,300. You can give 10%, eh? You could have mass finance candies for Halloween, eh? It would have been nice. Go incognito, hoodie up, and give some charity to rehabilitate the homeless. Get some construction worker done and do some buildings and sign some contracts with them, you know, to rehabilitate the homeless population and those for second, third, and fourth chances. Those who have a willingness, you know, just like I have had a willingness to move and to change and to, you know, heal from my trauma scars and get some wounds and just get the scars from it. But you live with it a little bit stronger and stranger, I guess. So now we have the Toronto Blue Jays, you know, Toronto Blue Jays owner. So let's check it out on the owners, of course, what we got now. Owners. Rogers Communications. Did the Habs win? Oh wow, Habs are ahead. Go Habs, go Habs. Also, Habs can give charity. Some are also winning a lot of $1 million contracts. $1 million contracts. Give some charity. That would be nice, you know. Don't be so selfish. Oh, Habs are on the way to winning. 5 more minutes. That's nice. We're number one. We much needed, eh? I'm trying to break the for a long time. Here we go. So let's close this. That would be best, you know. Get it now. Yeah. There know, shut down, you know, gotta get left and right in the middle. That's what we got, you know. That's what we got for the left and for the right. In the middle, out of sight. I'm gonna take a little bit of that rock. It's actually a brick, right? 16 pounds. Get some of that biceps, you know. I'm not gonna do a long workout, but just gonna be a little bit up and down, do some biceps and left, right arm, you know, just the upper body. Going a little bit on the sides here. Just get it drilled. I guess. Oh, this is a good exercise. Oh, yeah. With the leg spread, leg right, leg just leg spread out to the maximum here on this red chair. Auctioning it for $1 billion, $1 million, $1 trillion. Gotta insure my rainbow dragon booty priestess on a booty for $1 trillion. Otani can kiss it for world peace, and for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, the welders, the cooks, the construction workers, public workers, train conductors, the welders. You know, get squint. That's how it goes. Maybe we're gonna do that play like that. Oh, with a brick. And it's I guess it's maybe 11 times, heavier than, how much does a baseball bat weigh? Traditionally, how much? I closed I don't know, but I can check, you know. So this is what I have in my hand here is about 16.6 pounds, right? It's a bit more than 7 kilos, so it's about 16.6 pounds. And this is a good exercise when you go it from one hand to the other. It lays pressure on both, you know, so just turn the body a little bit. Always get a little bit of that workout, you know. I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. If I check back from my first workouts in 2018, just before after I got out of my depression, and I of course lost a lot of weight since then, between 80 and 93 pounds, and that's how we got now to be conquered mentally. Of course, you know the appellations where we have to be relative about and get it on the go, and so we have to do, and we have to get doing with that. So that's how we have to get now, you know, to auctioning this for $1 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion, whatever. And that's how we're gonna get doing with that, you know. Yeah, owners of the NBA, National Basketball Association, NFL, National Football League, NHL, NBA, please give some charity. I would have loved to see the corporations. Here in Canada, we got a paradox, you know, because about 3 big grocery store owners. It's like corporations, holding companies, which own actually most of the grocery stores. So sometimes I laugh because over the past year, some citizens told me that, you know, I don't go to Metro, I go to Super C, but it's actually the same ownership, right? So it's basically, they have different prices, different goods, but it's basically the money that you spend at Metro or at Super C, it still goes to Metro Inc. If you spend the money at Super C, and it's the same with, somebody said, I don't go to shop at Loblaws, I go to Maxi, but Maxi is actually owned by Loblaws Inc., right? So it's kind of like an illusion that we have all these different choices, but as a matter of fact, we do have the choices, we do have the different products, but fundamentally the money that you spend at either place, it goes to the same place, right? So just, it's kind of a paradoxical complex, which has been more revealed during COVID, because they were called by Trudeau government to a meeting, and the 3 top grocers, Empire Inc., Loblaws Inc., and of course Metro Inc., they were called, of course, to discuss, of course, their relationships, and of course why the cost of the prices were going up fundamentally, internally, of course, why they were going up, you know, why they were going up. And you know, we're trying to find some solution, you know, trying to find some solutions in the pursuit, you know, to get those parallel relations with that. And what book is it reading? Somebody's reading a book, let me see. I'm not sure, is that a playbook? What is that? Is that a ritual? Is that a book of the law? Maybe. See here. Not sure. Let me see. I'm not sure. Oh, maybe. Hey, like a playbook. I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit of book of the law there, you know, consequently, whatever the case may be, but I'm not sure. A book, it could be many books. My anonymous friend got me the Sanskrit book, so I gotta consult it this month of Scorpio. And Scorpio, we're gonna connect a lot with my parallel self. My parallel self lives, now it's December 23rd, 22nd, 23rd in the year darkness 2029, and my parallel self builds, designs supercomputers, ICBM rockets, microchips, satellites, and all things, antennas, all things to do with science and technology, telecommunications and information IT work. It is the year darkness 2029 in consortium of super scientists. I'm also an aspie. I suffer struggle in that parallel life, which is the year 2029, year darkness 2029 now. I also suffered and struggled a lot with Asperger's, you know, until finally about 2025 or so, I got a good contract to start building satellites, telecommunications with NATO. So I already have a few thousand sats launched, and now we're launching even more in December 2029. Well, we started launching them like March 2025. We started actually building them in 2020, and took a few years, and then we launched them started launching them a few years back, but a few years back from 2029, I meant to say. Here in this now, live for today with hope for tomorrow. I'm a aspie, artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical, analyst, and theorist, and thinker and strategist, and working out with this more than 7 kilos brick, 16.6 pounds, doing a conversion in from, and this is an exercise I like this. I don't know, it kind of works out very good, you know. Sometimes you just gotta freestyle a bit for the body, you know, freestyle exercises. And I actually created a workout training program system. I really am proud, right? Because this October I'm actually marking 6 years since I predicted an international conflagration of World War III, if you don't know what I'm referring about. On October 17th, I posted a video starting a series, because I am myself an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst, theorist, philosopher, and strategist, thinker, and I develop strategies for the North American Collective first and foremost, fundamentally, especially my Trinity of theories and such strategies such as the total mobile defense theory, which I cannot discuss over much because it has binational security matters and sensitive binational security strategies for the development of NATO, NORAD, NATO. Always NORAD, NATO, and that's how we gotta rock and roll, man. You know, and the only thing I'm really craving more regularly, if I would love to have, but I gotta be grateful because I can take a bath, is once in a while I would love, especially once a week, because I live a very healthy lifestyle, massage therapy sessions, you know. And I think the Draconis, aka Imperial Integrated Service and Security Force, to integrate the FBI and the RC and get rid of the border, to create a service and security total 24/7 hour force, service and security 24/7 hour force, a 24 integrated my CIT. I don't want to discuss too much of my theories now because it's Saturday or Sabbath, but the Sabbath lasts until tomorrow. Maybe I'll extend it until midnight. It's the first Sabbath of the month of Scorpio. Gonna do some dancing and some tarot reading, you know. I saved some tarot cards from the rain, you know, so that is, of course, the proposition where we have now to be concomitantly in all the developmental relations where we got to love. Some people love baseball, you know, I get it, but just love some charity as well, you know. I'm not totally selfless. I don't make any pretense that I'm totally selfless. I like wafers and sweets, and I like to eat good, you know. I like to give and receive, you know, but I'm not trying to be more harmony in the balance, you know. Equilibrium. I think there was a movie I saw during COVID, 2020. By the way, I had COVID right here. I thought I was going to die. March 2020. And again, I say that I think I saw it in Equilibrium. It's a movie with Christian Bale. Christian Bale plays in it. Whenever I say the word equilibrium, it makes me think I gotta watch it again. It's kind of like sci-fi dystopia if you're into that sort of stuff. And I do, of course, a little bit of that movie reviews, if blah blah blah. If you want to commission some movie reviews, blah blah blah, blah rock and roll. And you know, I'm trying to get that freedom, and freedom is a new thing under the sun, Mr. Solomon, you know. And sometimes we just gotta live with gratitude, and it's new under the sun, freedom, man. We gotta define it and insure it. Insurance for the North American Collective, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Dragon Army for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, electricians, the plumbers, the bakers, the doctors, the firefighters, and saluting the nurses. Hey, it's our bite, it's our work. Yes, civilization is a privilege. You know, thinking about now all here, have this electricity which comes from Hydro-Quebec. I gotta salute Hydro-Quebec. You know, workers of the past, present, because all this electricity is really quite decades it had taken for the construction of the highways, the railways, and all the things which we have now concomitantly, of course, on even this building where I live now, you know. Construction workers who build those buildings and skyscrapers, you know, on those cranes, and I will to build the four, you know, on the Canadian-US border, the biggest ever sports complex arena ever built. Let's go give 10%. Or 5% or 2%, 1%, all millionaires, all players of the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. Give the pledge, Mr. Bill Gates, brother citizen Scorpio Bill Gates. On the 28th of October, I will be celebrating my Scorpio brother Bill Gates's birthday by calling, of course, doing an event for him. He doesn't need me to do an event, but just because I'm calling for a public-private partnership and I'm a fan, you know, and I like the giving pledge laid down, founded in 2010. 2010 was the foundation of the Giving Pledge, and I think it's something which is great for the North American Collective. The Giving Pledge is an idea put into practice of being charitable. I think Warren Buffett, even lately, of course, has been doing a little bit of that good work, and we gotta, you know, charities, money capital is sometimes made because of the public, you know, the highways, the railways, the electricity, all this public function, which in the Canada-United States complex, what I call the North American civilizational complex, has to be rebalanced, equilibrated, because since the past 44 years plus, since 1980 about, it has been a more derailment, decomplexing, and decontrolling, and decommissioning towards the private. So now we have to do it via the DRT, via the debt refusion tree. We have to rebalance, to harmonize the public and the private, you know, citizens, and with new creative ideas. I believe I bring something to the table. I got a new table, by the way. Last year I got it around this time. I can't believe it's been a year already. I gotta check, double check, but something like that, because I was working. I had some arbeit, some work, and I got it here. I gotta still clean it a bit. It has a bit of red my favorite color, but it kind of looks like a circus, and providentially it has two halves, you know, they have to be united. So one for Canada, one for the United States, and I got some. That's what I see, this table here. So I've full as those 700 trillions of kisses, you know, 718 trillions of kisses. That is God bless, God has kissed our coming of our empire. You see, always for the stars, because I was born in the United States 3 times post 7076. That is where we got that Canadian flag, but I have it on me, you know. I have it 24/7, Canada tatted up, so I don't really the flag per se, because I got it on me, but that's got rock and roll. I have it for 22 years now, plus, you know, more than 22 years, Canada flag, decades, so that's rock and roll, you know. I was born in the United States. If you don't believe in reincarnation, that's fine, but I'm a mystic. I believe in past lives, but sometimes I was born a man, a woman, a man, 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 man, a woman, a man. Which in that parallel life, I create supercomputers, Dragon Army, you know, telecommunications, satellites, everything to do with civilization on nature 24/7. I'm immersed in computer science. Even I have my brain kind of integrated with supercomputer networks across the world. So I'm not gonna get into that, because I get headaches when I connect with my parallel self, who's a super scientist, but my parallel self gets headaches because I sing rock and roll. I sing rock and roll 24/7 on the go. Truckers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, and the welders. Give me some for that construction workers. I say D for deconstruction. I'm not a demon, I'm a dragon. Gotta sing it so you see. You and me, we gotta pledge your allegiance, legions. That's that. Yeah, you know, that's 3 things I do as an Aspie. You know, special interest, it's rock and roll, sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and geopolitics, Trinity for many, many years. That's constant, every day, work, 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 as an independent artist, athlete, you know. And I lost a lot of jobs. I had a lot of jobs, eh? In the COVID, that's the problem with us Aspies, is the unemployment is very high, 80%, eh? That's 11 times higher. Supposedly in Canada, the unemployment now is 7, right? 7.3. So if for Aspies is more than 80, 7.3 times 11 gets 80. So although we're a tiny minority of less than 1 percentile, the unemployment is horrible for us. It's 11 times. higher than for you, the neurotypicals, because sometimes we have to be told directly, because we might not understand. Like my friend getting me that book, Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome, to understand fully what Asperger's is understanding and having patience. You know, we have to be told more directly, and sometimes ourselves we are straightforward and direct. So, you know, if I will be in an interview, sometimes we'll be more weird and awkward and strange, you know, because of the what's called. But again, this is neurotypical language, what you would use to describe having no filters. But from our perspective, it's something that we have to understand, that yeah, we could be vulnerable to certain situation because of this no filtering relationships, you know. So it's something which we have, you know, just like, you know, I'm sure that there's plenty of, well, there must be statistically, because there's about 5,000 players, right? 5,000 players in the MLB, Major League Baseball, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, NFL, right? Combined in the NFL, National Football League, in the NHL, National Hockey League, in the NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, these four, is about 5,000 players. However, not one of the players is openly LGBTQ. Now, statistically, right, that's not possible out of 5,000, because the percentage of LGBTQ for Gen Z is higher than for millennials, right? It's about between 6 and 8% for Gen Z. For millennials is about 4% to 6%, right? For Gen Z is a bit higher, between 6 and 8, or 6 and 7, 8, 9 even percent for earlier generation than millennials. So there's a little bit of percentile about for some percentages discrepancies. There's more Gen Z that are in the open than millennials, although millennials is about 4 to 7%, let's say 4 to 6%, and then Gen Z is about 6 to 8 or 6 to 9%, right? So that means that in actuality, right, that means that in actuality there must be, you know, there must be at least maybe even if you call statistically, right, if it's 5%, there must be, you know, because 10% of 5,000, right, is 500. So slash that 500 to 5%, that's about 250. So there should be between 50 and 200. I hate to break it to you, but there should be, and there is between 50 and 250, because most of the players today are Gen Z, right? They're Gen Z and millennials. There's, I don't know the percentile, would be nice because I do mathematics 24/7. What would be the percentage? We'll have to check on the date of births, right? Because Gen Z is 1995 to 2010, right? 1996 to 1997, 1997 to 2000, 1997, 1996 to 2010, right? Gen Z. Millennials is from 1980 to 1996. So Gen Z is from 1996 to 2010, something like that, around that, right? Millennials is those born after 1980, right? 1980 to 1996. So Gen Z will be 1996 to 2010 or 12, 2010 or 12, something like that. Okay, between that. So if we are to check the percentages at the date of birth, so somebody who was born in 1980 is a millennial. In 1984 is a millennial. 1989 is a millennial. 1991 is a millennial. If it's 1997, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2000, right? 2005, 2006, 2007, right? Then is a Gen Z. So if you are to percentage, the majority probably are Gen Z now in the four sports leagues: NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, and NBA, National Basketball Association. So these four. So there must be between 50 and 250, either bisexuals or homosexuals. Myself, I'm pansexual. I've been in the open me for more than 11 years since I can remember, and you know, I have videos dating years and years and years, and I made a lot of friends in the LGBTQ community, but it was hard to keep them long term, you know. And Aspies will have these difficulties in maintaining long term friends. From now, I don't want to waste anybody's time. If you're 18 plus, friends with benefits only, or pledge your allegiance, friends with benefits only, you know. When I get that Dragon Zero, Dragon Army, better Zero, Dragon Zero, you know. Drop down, give me some push ups with marching steps. I already marched last week more than any general of NATO, maybe even combined a few. Definitely more than any general of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization member states. Big Heck said, David McGinty, come do some discussions and some exercising with the troops here in NATO, and that's financed the public-private partnership, PPP. For many years, my call has been for a public-private partnership, you know, a PPP, public-private partnership, you know, in the domain where we have now to be recorded, of course, in the left and the right and all those domains where we have now, you know. It's something that you gotta just check if they couldn't get the ball, you know, get that baseball, and let's see, they're hitting, oh, with the ball. I'm not a big, so I don't know much about baseball. Some people love it. If you are, you know, that's cool, and just let me know what more. I mean, I know a little bit. I'm not too keen on the, I mean, not that keenness or knowledgeable in all the rules, you know, all rules and regulations, but I like the speed. I like, what I like is the motions, you know, like throwing the ball in the motions and the running. That kind of seems cool. But I'm not gonna pretend that I know all the rules. Dance without rules, booba with consent, you know. Don't bump into anybody without consent. Basically, for dancing being my favorite sport, that's most important, you know. Dance how you will, and you know, I'm getting better at twerking, you know. I twerk for world peace. Oh, that feels good. Twerk for world peace. Gotta sing, swing for the. Please, for the please, don't you sneeze. Firefighters, truckers, butchers, bakers, nurses. Shake those hips. Make some loving. Yeah. So you know who needs a massage therapy session? Who deserves it more than yours truly? Public workers. Those who pick up the garbage. Those who pick up the compost, the recycling. Those who embellish our cities and streets, you know. Public sanitation workers, you know. Somebody gotta sing that rock and roll for the boys and girls in blue, and somebody gotta sing that rock and roll for the brothers and sisters who do their criminal rehabilitation. Also, I sing for both, because if you take your second, third, fourth chances, and I would love to be a millionaire, billionaire by the holidays, and before, you know, holidays, I would go incognito, hoodie up, and give some 44,000, 50,000. I said, this is your second chance. Turn your life around, get out of the booze, of the drugs, whatever, addictions, and you can turn your life around and start volunteering, and here's 50,000, you know. That's money has served a purpose, you know. Money is to buy, sell. That's why my DRT for the UE, the creation of the Universal Exchange of the Imperial Dollars, I'm calling Bill Gates and all public and private institutions, financial public institutions, to concord it. You know, sometimes you gotta make some compromises, you know. Centrist ones, pro-labor, love universal revolutionary centrist, strong revolutionary centrism in many ways, and some charity, you know, and to make others employed and finance mass fitness, you know. My workout training program system, I dream to be a mass public-private partnership concorded across all Canada, United States jointly, 24/7 in the streets, in the schools, of course, to have the workout whenever somebody wants to go. We can have hallways where you can do my workout and get credited some 50 UEs to buy food, pay rent, you know, 50 UEs. You do the workout, you stay in line, and of course it's a simple, effective workout training program which has several parameters or layers, and I envision webcams and citizens, fellow citizens, who can do it within the rules, in whatever rules, and have AI, of course, able to, of course, see and witness and register and record it. All citizens who do my general war integrated total body training system as a mass public-private partnership across North American Collective, as we're going to fuse for the Imperial Democratic Republic, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, for total SSDL, security, service, and defense, of course, to be in the protocols involved thereof, all the public-private partnership thereof, with all security institutions, coast to coast, ocean to oceans, to do my workout training program system, which is a simple, effective workout training program system, which is referred, of course, as the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, and of course to have citizens, of course, to do their duty, or to do, if by volition, by will, and to, if you do it completely, because it's, I created that workout in 2019 to go hand in hand with a workout training program system. I created it to go hand in hand with that workout. My workout training program system was created hand in hand to go, that is, hand in hand with a workout. My workout training program system was created to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario, which I, of course, have done myself. I've performed more than 372 sessions thereof, and in 2019, in October 17th, I performed and I put it for the first time, and I've concluded about 372 sessions thereof, 372 sessions. And of course, these are the rules. I'm going to discuss it now because I'm celebrating 6 years thereof, and my workout training program system is, of course, marked 300 also known as the 300 workout, also known as the General War Integrated Total Body Training System. Officially, the title is General War Integrated Total Body Training System. Officially, the workout training program system is called the General War Integrated Total Body Training System. And of course, it has thereof several elements, of course, and layers of the dynamics. So we got now to be revolved, and in the fact that I'm marking 6 years, it's quite an achievement, I guess, and celebrating in my own way, you know, on a budget. But I created a workout training program system, of course, to go now, of course, hand in hand with a workout training program system where we have now. And of course, all those dynamics involved in the situational awareness that it is made in concordiate with, I don't want to be too academic about its creation, but there's an intellectual academic side to the creation as much as there's a scientific sports fitness related science, simple science. It is, of course, accorded to go hand in hand with such a scenario, and if it has the dynamics that it requires no equipment really, but it's not meant for aesthetics necessarily, although it can develop muscle aesthetics, beautification of the muscles. But of course, it's not necessarily that it's made for beauty, but of course it's made for increasing general overall fitness. And of course, increasing general overall fitness, it's what it does. And that's why I say that across North America as a mass public-private partnership, let's go NBA, National Basketball Association, NHL, and MLB, Major League Baseball, and of course the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, MLB, Major League Baseball and Basketball, police, finance, and all institutions and organizations, security forces, FBI, RCMP, and governments, and institutions of a public and private nature. My brothers Scorpio, Bill Gates, Microsoft, and of course all others, millionaires and billionaires and massive corporations and community organizations across North America. We would have centers where citizens are, of course, linked with the internet and YouTube channels, of course, to do it live. And of course, when a citizen goes and is able to do it within the rules, then it gets some UEs credited to be able to purchase cheese and romaine lettuce and some bacon and some pizzas and some bread. It's would be credited the new currency which we're going to put into circulation, the UE, the universal exchange, or the universal exchange, and of course going to be the imperial dollar by fusing Canada and the United States and implementing my debt refusion theory, which I discussed in the past and will discuss in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead, and all those things where we have now to revolutionize about. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about it. So I created it in 2019 when I concluded that humanity is set towards another international conflagration. And of course, I have to be clear that I did not predict Trump's re-election, and Granddaddy Trump made the mistake to impose tariffs on Canada. But at the same time, we have the paradoxical complex that which we have to be educated more in depth about, that we have been invited as Canadians to join the Union, admission to the Union. What in the United States, social political culture and developmental culture, politics as a republic post 1776 with a constitution, is that we have actually been paradoxically not the right way, because Granddaddy Trump, you made a mistake, and I made mistakes so many times. I just, my anonymous friend, if I make a million, a billion, a trillion, I'm gonna give half, because I made a lot of mistakes during my life, you know. And for example, in public, I'm different, you know. Asperger's is more different, so this, I'm not aware of certain things. I have to be told more directly because it can play to a disadvantage, and just my brain is different, right? So the functionality of the brain is different, and sometimes there's, on the background is mathematical concerns and calculations of percentages, and of course such. See, I just, speaking of percentages now, see, gotta say that Trump announces plan to increase tariffs by 10% on Canada because of that. So, you know, I would have voted for Biden and Kamala, but I would have voted for Biden and Kamala, but Granddaddy Trump made the mistake. Uncle Connie also pledging allegiance to the King of England. We should have been a republic by the 1st of January. We should have been a republic, you know. The king is absent, the king has to go, and it's time for the republic. And paradoxically, we have to understand that the paradox that we are not in the right way, of course, were mistakes since 2018, and I got those red gloves by my anonymous friend, donated me those red gloves. I got them in the backpack there to challenge Donald Trump, because since 2018 I have been challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border, and we're going to build the biggest ever Coliseum ever built on the Canadian-US border. It's going to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, and the Caesar Superdome where my 49ers lost in one of my favorite Super Bowls. It's called Super Bowl 47. Has several nicknames. One of it is Bro Bowl. The other one is Harbaugh Bowl. The other one is Harbaugh Bowl, Bro Bowl, and Blackout Bowl. And of course, Bro Bowl and Blackout Bowl. And of course, whatever else nicknames. But those are nicknames that were given to Super Bowl 47. One of my top favorite 5 ones. Because paradoxically, it's one of my top favorites. Although my 49ers lost, but they played a good game. They only lost by 3 points, but even by 1 point, you lose on any given Sunday, eh? But on any given Sunday, you win by 1 point even. Ooh, fumble. You get some inches and some red. I'm good at rock and roll. I'm good at geopolitics and sports and fitness. But besides that, I had my challenges, in the social spheres. But we have to build bridges. So I have to be fully understood that before I continue discussing a little bit of geopolitics or social politics now, I guess as the Sabbath, we're still going to rest and do a little bit of some. But now the problem is that Uncle Connie, you might have good advisors, and Granddaddy Trump, you might have good advisor internally, domestic, but whoever the advisors who are discussing geopolitics, they do not know geopolitics. That I can tell you. That's what I know for years and years and years. Study geopolitics, relate to geopolitics. Geopolitics is my kingdom and universe, and best I have the proof for what I'm going to say with all the flaws, the vices, and forget for now, put aside the part that I'm androgynous, pansexual, and the part that I am LGBTQ. I've been in the open for 11 years, so it's not something that I hide. The secret services of China do not cross the oceans, neither secret services of Russia don't cross the ocean. What for? It's a big swim. Don't need to swim that much. Stay there. Don't need to spy on me, because I'm part of the open for LGBTQ community from 11 years. But whoever's advising you in geopolitics doesn't know what they're talking about. Just like myself, if I would know, for example, construction work and engineering and how we're going to build these arenas, which I will to build on the Canadian-US border, such as, of course, the Imperial People's Coliseum, to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome. The Caesar Superdome was, of course, the arena where, of course, my 49ers lost by 3 points to the Ravens. Super Bowl 47 has several nicknames: Blackout Ball, Bro Ball, and Harbaugh Ball. Harbaugh, for the first time, 2 brothers actually, or blood brothers, because we're brothers and sisters by the law of Telema, and by the law of the dragon and the priestess as well, and the dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. Adrian Dragon, pledge your allegiance. Our family or friends with benefits only. To say that my will to build the People's Coliseum, Imperial People's Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, is part of my dream. And of course, the construction workers and the engineers, they will know what they're talking about in terms of construction more than I. And there's different levels of expertise which might know, such as those who build the aqueducts for us to have water, which is the privilege of civilization, etc., 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 etc. Just like I know geopolitics, and yes, I have to know a little bit about public works, a little bit about finance, a little bit about economics, and finance a little bit more, of course, than other things. But when it comes to geopolitics, I have predicted the international conflagration which is occurring in a general manner, not in an overall detailed manner and detail by detail, but in an overall manner. I predicted a World War III back in 2019 October. As a matter of fact, October 17 was the first video that I have posted, and I have proof. So now to get back to the fact that Donald Trump and of course Uncle Connie, the advisors in geopolitics, they're not that great. They're not that good, I gotta say, because we have to start with this statement for both Canada and United States, and then we can proceed. If you object to this following statement and you say no, 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 or maybe, then we can pursue the discussion of geopolitics. Because that's just the geopolitical reality. We're not talking about religion, we're not talking about spirituality, we're not talking about other considerations. We're discussing geopolitics, right? So this following statement is, of course, just like the statement which I have to say. You have to accord with a positive, affirming manner, because there's no objection to this following statement. There's no objection, of course, to this following statement, but in the relations where we have now to be. And of course, the relationship is that we have to accord it with a yes. So the statement is that for Canada, in reciprocity for my brothers and sisters in the United States, with whom do we, if we are to place a hierarchical order of with which nation state we have to establish the best cordial economic, social, financial, military, political relations with, For Canada, it is with the United States. For the United States, although you have a border with Mexico, it is still with Canada that you have to work to establish the best, most cordial economic relations. So for me, it's Canada first, United States second. But if we fuse my way via the DRT theory for the creation of the UE and the other protocols to fuse the FBI and the RCMP together and to create a total SSD, Security Service and Defense Legion, and rebuild the ghettos, rebuild the North American infrastructure as well by the implementation of my DRT and balancing, of course, all interest rates thereafter to 10%. After we implement the DRT, there won't be able to be more than 10% on interest, not like we have now, 10%, 15, 20, 25% plus. So that is going to be a new accord in the 21st century, and to be for SSD, Security Service and Defense, and building the 4 buildings which I will to build in parallel, of course, with the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and the Forgotten Goddess Temple thereafter, of course, to be now in the implementation, of course, of where we got to be the dynamics of where we are now congruently, where we are on the verge, of course, of a World War III. Of course, some people say that World War III has already started. So now the convergence of geopolitics, as I have foreseen it in a general manner, it's possible that it escalates with the invasion of Taiwan by China, because that is an unresolved conflict from the 20th century. So that is the 20th century conflict, which of course was not resolved, just like Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine and Russia is a conflict which was not fully resolved from that period of time. So that has to be fully understood, right? So once we have that understanding, and we have to go to affirm again the geopolitical statement which I have, that for us Canadians, and of course for my brothers and sisters in the USA, the best cordial, most cordial with, so when we are to establish a hierarchy of with whom do we have to establish the best, most cordial relations with, then it is of course with the United States. In reciprocity, the United States is with us. Of course, in reciprocity, the United States is with us. Thus, so we have to establish, of course, now the concordium where we have to be, and of course we have to say yes to that, yes to that, yes to that. And you cannot say no, you cannot object. That is just a yes, yes, yes. That is just like the pi symbol. The pi, not the apple pie or the edible pie, but is the pi symbol, represents a constant, mathematical constant. It is always 3.1416, and it always represents that numerical value, which is the relationship between the diameter and the circumference. The diameter and the circumference. So the diameter and the circumference is of course always 3.14, and it relates to a circle. It relates to a circle. So the fact that it relates to a circle thereof, that is of course just the relationship where we have to establish now, because that is a constant, mathematical constant, such is and has been at least since the dissolution of the British Empire for Canada. Before the dissolution of the British Empire, that might have been different a bit, right? But since the Second World War, in the past 70 years, since NATO, whatever's establishment in 1949, and in the 21st century with Canada, of course, and also not just because of the social, cultural, historical realities of Canada-United States relations in the 20th century, but for the 21st century, the relation is also because of our geography. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, admire mas que admires. The Latin motto of Canada is that we have 2 oceans. We have the Atlantic, we have the Pacific, we have the Pacific, we have the Atlantic. So of course that just is the concordant, of course, that the Pacific and the Atlantic are of course in the concordant where we have now to be the relationships thereof, and of course we have to get that plurality of course involved in all the domains now. So that is just the reality of the geographical reality, is that we have to work to establish the best, most cordial economic relations with the United States, and then with other countries, and then with other countries. And of course, we have this impediment, we have this trade war. I did not predict Trump's re-election. When I predicted World War III and international conflagration back in 2019, October, that was, of course, the prediction in 2019, October. That, of course, that was the prediction now to be, of course, that is materializing now. But now, when I say now, of course, it's also in the past, and during the past 3.5 years at least, since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. So it's been going to be 4 years in 4 months, right? It's going to be 4 years in 4 months, 2026. They invaded 24th, 25th of February 2022. So it's been more than 3.5 years. So in 4 months, it's going to be actually November, December, January, February. So in about exactly 4 months, is going to be, exactly in 4 months is going to be 4 years, right? In exactly 4 months is going to be 4 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. And again, I'm not on the ground with 300 men and women to observe, to fully be integrated neither in the conflict in Israel and Hamas, nor in Israel and Hamas or Palestine, and neither in Ukraine or Russia, on the border, neither, of course, in China and Taiwan, and neither in Pakistan or India or anywhere else in the world. Pretty much I lived here in the island of Montreal. Here is where I died, right in the Sumafsan Temple. On this island I died in 2020 February. I'm being reborn, my fourth rebirth since 11 years when I moved here with nothing, eh? I still have only my high school diploma, and I worked out, trained, exercised. I was depressed and suicidal, and of course I wrote several theories and papers, of course, involved in the relationships where we are now to be related on the left and the right, and of course all the propositions where we are now to be relegated, of course, on the factorial, multifactorial, the multi-factors of the fact that we have to simplify it by a massive public-private partnership, and we have to incorporate and we have to implement the DRT, the debt refusion treaty, for the creation of the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. That is, of course, the protocol, of course, the debt refusion treaty, while, of course, putting into valor and validity and rebalancing, reharmonizing both the public and the private, and that is something which we have, of course, to do together in the complementary of all the manifestations where we have now to relegate our self-plurality, where we got now to be now done. And because we have this reality now, which is unprecedented, is unprecedented. And now I'm joyous because I actually have, paradoxically, the solutions. I have the solutions. So the solutions is and are the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the CIT, the citizen integration theory, and the DFT, the democratic fusion theory, and of course for the creation of the universal exchange unit. That is something which we have, of course, now to do in the relationships, of course, of all the implementation of all our dynamics, where we have to concord that. Again, the statement in geopolitics is that we have, of course, to build the best relations with each other concomitantly. We have to build the best relations with each other. That's what we have to do now, of course, in all the establishment from today. It is October 25th, the first Sabbath, first Saturday of Scorpio 2025, the month. So for the future, from today and for the future, we have to keep that into mind whenever we discuss geopolitics from a Canadian perspective, or for my brothers and sisters in the United States from the United States perspective. When it comes to foreign affairs, we have to place each other as a top #1 priority for foreign affairs, right? That is, again, with whom do we have to build the best economic, social, military relations with? For Canada, it is with the United States. For the United States, it is with us, Canada. So, although Granddaddy Trump made the mistake to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel in 2018, and that's when I started challenging him, and we're going to fight on the U.S. border and start building the biggest ever sports arena coliseum complex ever built, and it's gonna be sportsmanship. That's why whenever I say it, I say that, you have the deployment of troops in the cities. I gotta be watching them like a hawk. Sportsmanship. That's why General Dragon is gonna give foul on the play. Foul play. 5 yards penalty, 10 yards penalty, 15-yard penalty, expulsion from the game. We gotta have some rules, and sometimes we gotta change some rules and be more charitable. Because we got each other, and I know somebody's making love, although I'm financially stressed, I got trillions of kisses, and my ideas, theories best. Now, Auntie Freeland classified Donald Trump's incoming administration best. When Auntie Freeland stated before she changed and she resigned before Trump came into power, after his election in November, Auntie Freeland classified, and her wisdom, concise in the paragraphs, were really enveloped everything that has been happening. So she stated there clearly that Donald Trump and the incoming administration is going to pursue an aggressive economic nationalist policy, an aggressive economic nationalism policy. So that's what Donald Trump has been doing ever since he got into office. He's pursuing exactly like Auntie Freeland. And I agree that he's pursuing an aggressive economic nationalist policies. His policies are aggressive economic nationalism. Now, whether we agree with it or not, my theories, when I discuss for years and years and years, it's always binational. That's why my bipolar, not bipolar as in the psychiatric psychological condition, but I refer to my bipolar geopolitical strategy for fusing Canada and the United States into the imperial complex by implementing the DRT, debt refusion theory, the CIT, citizen integration theory, and the DFT, democratic fusion theory, in order to create a two complementary covenant cooperative public-private partnership organization, being the Imperial Republican SSD Legion, Security Service and Defense Legion, Coast to Coast, Ocean to Ocean, and of course the Dancing Goddess Army, aka the Imperial Integrated Dance League as the Priestess. Got those kisses from the Goddess, because always God bless, Goddess kiss. It's always God bless, Goddess kiss. The 10, the 50, and the 3 for the 63. Let our empire rise and be, and you know it's best if we fuse, and it best is my theories, because just investing in 1,000 new border security, it's better these 1,000 to be converted to be for the Imperial Army from both sides, for SSD, Security Service and Defense, Security Service and Defense, Security Service and Defense, for the 63, in order for us to rebuild the highways, the infrastructure internally in the North American complex, and develop new infrastructures and highways, and of course work to get a little bit of greens, you know, and more electric cars, and more. We have here the Lion, of course, which has been in Quebec. And here all our electricity is zero pollution, zero emission. And even myself, I'm doing this workout training program system with zero emission energy, right? That's what it's been doing now. That's what it's been. Now it's been. Now basically it's been recording with electricity from Hydro-Quebec, which is water, right? So our electricity goes to 5, or I believe six states, all the way to Manhattan Island, actually. All the way to Manhattan Island. So all the way to New York. About 20% of the electricity from New York, Manhattan Island to be specific, is from us. It's just clean, zero pollution, zero emission. I'm just going to watch some highlights from the NHL now. Well, we're going to change it a bit because there's no more new ones from the MLB, but I guess I'm going to support Toronto because I'm Canadian, and it's Canada first, United States second for me, you know. Canada first, United States second. But, you know, it can be that if we join together, fuse, that would be best for the future. And as much as I disagree with Granddaddy Trump, and I'm not a MAGA, he knows I'm a Democratic Republican 50-50, but my universal revolutionary centrism is for the creation of the third party to fuse Canada and the United States, the NACWP, and establishment of the binational security services complex, and of course the binational salvation fronts. The National Salvation Front, the king is absent, you know. The king is absent, and we should have been a republic in 1st of January, the beginning of the turning on the millennium. We should have been a republic, eh? That's what my belief was. We should have been a republic right when the millennium turned. So that's 25 years ago, and that's how we should have been, consequently. Now I'm watching a bit of Vancouver, Montreal. Vancouver, this happened now. So also give some charity. Please give some charity. Also owners of the NHL as well, you know. NHL and millionaires playing. Not that much as baseball. Baseball, it seems that players in the Blue Jays, they make in the 15, 16, 17, and 20 million. While Canadians, I think the biggest salary for Canadians is, who is the biggest salary for Canadians? Montreal Habs. I think it's 8 million or 8.8 million, something, 7 point something million annually per year, which is quite extensive, eh? But it's, who gets the biggest salary for the Habs? I know it is. Let's check. Because I checked a few weeks ago, but I guess the numbers, I didn't retain them that well. I know that there's several players who make, like 4 players who make more than 5 million. That I know. I'm gonna do a little bit of hawk. So paradoxically, also what I wanted to say is that Donald Trump has opened an invitation for us to join the Union, what's called in United States political terms, and look at the Constitution, is called admission to the Union. Admission to the Union. It's called admission to the Union. You know, originally there were 13 states, just like we're going to turn 13 Republican states by the National Salvation Front and the Binational Salvation Front coming thereafter for the fusion thereof. But paradoxically, Donald Trump has opened kind of the door, if you will, for us to join. And if we are going to join, my understanding is I'm not necessarily joining Donald Trump, right? We're going to join the American people. We're going to join the American people. We're going to join the American people and fuse, become one, you know? That's how I view it. As much as we're going to box on the Canadian-US border and going to get some of those drills. Going to get some of those drills, you know? So let's see. get some of those drills. So let's see, have salaries, player salaries. Let's see. How much do Habs players make? Let's see with that. Oh, my eye, my left eye, something came into it. Okay, so here we go. So it's Caulfield who makes most. This is what we have now. Caulfield. See, Caulfield makes... Yeah, and then 7 million, 7.6 million, and then 6.5 million, and 5.5 million. That's why I said I know there's four. That's why I said I know there's four that are gonna make more than 5 million. So these are the four, and then there's others who make 4 million, 3 million, stuff like that. You know, so that's basically it, eh? That's what I said for 2025. So those are the salaries. There's some. So those Josh Anderson, Brendan Gallagher, Juras, Slavkovsky, and Caulfield, they make more than 5 million each a year annual salary. So that's extensive, and you can give some charity and owners as well. So, and I know there's the discussion of the ad, you know, the classification of the ad there. The ad has been 75 million cost for Ontario and Ronald Reagan's economics. And you know, that's why for the Canada United States Binational Salvation Front, the establishment of the North American Collective Workers Party, the NACWP, the Public-Private Partnership, the NACWP, North American Collective Workers Party, actually the PPP, which is one and the same with the Phoenix People's Party for total SSD, Security Service and Defense for the 63, you know, that's how it's gonna be with that left or right, and in the middle with all the representation thereof. And that's how we have, of course, to be on the relationships and the magnitudes of all the informations what we have now to be congruent about, and to be left and right in all the domains of the plurality of all the administrative affairs where we're gonna fuse together and create a common passport, common constitution for the coming of the imperial projections for the 21st century. I don't want to be too academic, scholarly at the moment, because it's Saturday, so it's a rest. But definitely there has to be more extensive explanation, but some things are pretty simple and pretty straightforward, such as the DRT, although there is complexity to my theory, which has to be implemented, the DRT, because we have four main problems which are pressing the vast majority of my brothers and sisters in the United States and Canada, and the growing cost of living being one. The growing cost of living, growing cost of rents. My rent went up between 6 and 10, and parallel to the growing cost of rents, you have also the other problems, which is the stagnation of the salaries. We have a lot of strikes here. The stagnation of the salaries, growing cost of rents, and the others, of course, is the stagnation of the salaries, growing cost of rents. Stagnation of the salaries, growing cost of rents. Wow, Habs equalized it in the third. They were trailing 2-1, 2-0. Then they scored one. Now in the second one, they tied it up in the third period with 18 minutes left. So these are the four main problems, which financial, economic problems, which affect the majority of citizens. One is, of course, the growing cost of rents. Rents are going up. Cost of living is going up. Bread, butter, all these things are going up. The other problem is, of course, the stagnation of the salaries, and the other problem is the credit cards. I don't have a credit card, but I have $10,000 in debt. So it's a credit line, what's called a credit line. But credit cards are being more problematic, and now with the shutdown in the United States, there's an additional threat for November 1st, and starting November, there's going to be some reduction in some food supplements, the SNAP, what's called SNAP, Supplementary Nutrition Aid Program. And you know, we have to get going for security, food security. We have to rebuild the North American complex, the ghettos, the North American inner urban cities. We have to mass finance fitness. We have to rehabilitate, and with joy, you know. And there's a lot of work we have to do together here, and rebuild the plateau, and of course, other things, which I'm all about work mostly, but I wouldn't mind friends with benefits, you know. And friends with benefits, and to conquer myth, and of course, having friends with benefits, that would be nice. And having friends with benefits, if you're 18 plus, black, white, or rainbow, that would be nice. So pledge your allegiance, legions, thou art family, family, family. Pledge your allegiance, legions, thou art family, family, family. I'm good at that rock and roll. I rap a little bit, you know. Always rap for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, truckers, plumbers, electricians. Oh, Habs scored 4-2. What? They scored. Give some charity. Yeah, that's what we gotta do, man. It's so we gotta get drilled, man, now. And additional 10% tariffs on Canada. That's problematic. That's problematic. It's a problem. 10%, yeah? And 75% of our exports go to the US market. And of course, we're not going to be able to replace much of that export in a short period of time. And, you know, because of the tough economic financial situation the European Union is also undergoing, they're not going to be able to take more than 5, 10, maximum 15% of that. So let's say 15% max, that's 75% is fixed in. It still leaves about 55 to 60%. So can we counterbalance Asia? Asia maybe also 15%, and 55 minus 50 still leaves a 40%. Eh? So 3/3, correction. 3/4, 3/4 of plus, more than 3/4 of every dollar of our exports goes to the U.S. market. You know, tough times for Canada. And I don't see it really as annexation, though, you know, because we're going to get the best of us and the best of the dynamism of the American people, but we have to mass finance healthcare. We have to make a public-private partnership, you know. Oh, Montreal won 4-3. Wow. That's a good game. Habs were number 1-1-1. Habs were number 1, you know. We see tomorrow my 49ers are playing, you know. Tomorrow my 49ers are playing the Texans. So 49ers were 5-2, the Texans are 2-4. So at Texas, 5-2, not bad, eh? We have a good start. 49ers were, let's see, 49ers were number 1 in the West. We're tied with the Seahawks and the Rams. The Rams also are 5-2. Seahawks are 5-2 and Rams are 5-2. Wow. I remember a game against the Rams last Super Bowl by Brady. One of my top favorite Super Bowls is actually the one where is the lowest ever scoring Super Bowl against the Rams. Patriots versus Rams. It finished 13-3. That was one of my favorites. Not a lot of people like that one, actually. Oh, we have some more a full inning. Gonna watch. I'm not, you know, baseball. I know a bit about innings, home runs, and I'm not an expert on. But I guess it's a good thing that the Blue Jays are this maybe gonna win the World Series, bring the championship to Canada. You know, I've been the true north strong and free, but the true north strong and free. Gotta add some loving me. Gotta add some love. Here's the baseball bat stock. Home run. Shot. Oh. Let's get a home run, man. You know, they gotta get on straight. Excited about the 49ers game tomorrow. Also give some charity NFL, and please give some tickets to the public workers, you know. And I would love all the sports players of the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, with the owners to just go across the United States for Halloween and before Halloween and just give some candies and, you know, donate some decorations, you know, for people who have the decorations, mass financing of Halloween. I love Halloween. I'm going to get dressed up. I'm probably going to propose again, you know, get a ring and write a letter because I got 2 no's. Maybe I'm gonna get a Joe Biden, you know? Joe Biden. He supposedly proposed 6 times. Only the 7th time he got a yes. Joe Biden, so the legend goes, supposedly he proposed 6 times. 6 times. Can you imagine that? 6 times. Proposing 6 times. 6 times. Can you imagine 6 times? He got a no 6 times, then he got a yes. You know, the seventh and final time he got a yes. That's quite something if you think about it in those domains, eh? Get a yes after 6 times, 6 no's. I got 2 no's, maybe third one. I'm gonna get kicked out. When just get engaged, you know. I'm part of the LGBTQ community, so it's gonna be a special engagement. If I can get special engagement to get from Halloween to Halloween, if I make $1 million by next Halloween, then I'll get a yes to buy a proper ring or a house, you know. I'm gonna box Donald Trump. 11 million. Donald Trump, Dragon versus Trump, 11 million. On the Canadian-US border. For the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, truckers, electricians, and the plumbers, eh? Gotta get it for there. Let's go get in. Yeah. Left, right, left. Tomorrow's that football. It's football, sports 24/7, geopolitics 24/7, and Granddaddy Trump, you made a mistake, you know. Just say I'm sorry, and that's not the way I should have invited Canada, but baking some pies and building on the Canadian-US border the biggest ever sports complex ever built for sports in perpetuities, for Canada and United States to be joint sports, you know. So that's it for today. You want to go a little bit over? Drinking tea from Kenya. Well, actually, it's a Ukrainian company, but the tea leaves are from Kenya. Black tea from Kenya. It's nice. I didn't put any sugar. It was really affordable. Got it on special. It was like a box of 100 pieces, 100 tea bags, like for $5. It was reduced like 44% or something.